there, I'm Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting in Needham, Massachusetts. We do a weekly podcast where I talk about knitting and crocheting, and we try to keep you up to date on what's going on in the shop, and tips and tricks for becoming better knitters and inspiration for you. Today we have a few things to talk about that are, I think, interesting. This was an article in the Boston Globe this week, and this is a young woman from Somerville, which is I guess it's a city next to Boston. Next to Cambridge, kind of west of the city. And it's from Nigeria, and she was invited to the prom, and she decided to design and crochet her prom dress, and it looks like the purse that goes with it. So pretty amazing, and I guess she spends hours crocheting, and I think she put this on TikTok and showed sort of a behind the scenes thing of her doing this, and I don't know how she does this, but she got 26 million views on TikTok. I wish. But these kids are amazing. So it's an article, it's in the Saturday, June 29th edition of the Boston Globe. So those of you who can get it online, you might want to read it. We got some new viewers. Betty from the Jersey Shore, one of my favorite places, and Holly, I think I just sent you some yarn in Newark, Delaware. So thank you for saying that. Also, we had some comments and questions, and she wants to dye. I'm giving a dyeing class, a couple of them. We'll probably have 2 or 3, I don't know how many, depends on how many people are interested, that we'll do here in the shop. We do it downstairs because it can be messy. And she wanted to know if she could dye a finished shawl. Yes, you can. I've done that. I've over-dyed things. The one thing I would caveat with that would be that sometimes the dyeing process is a little uneven, so I'd have to do a little research to make sure that doesn't happen to you, but maybe you don't mind that. But we can talk about that if you sign up. Louise from Quebec says, does she need to block every time something is washed? Well, if you've blocked something to a particular size that it wasn't when you knit it, yes, you would have to reblock it. If you just blocked it to just kind of even everything out, I would say I wouldn't necessarily block it, but after I washed it and got most of the water out, I think I would lay it out flat and make sure everything is straightened out. There are no sort of wrinkles in it. And if it looks to you like it's a different size, you might get your tape measure out and measure it, and in which case you should probably do that. By the way, I'm doing the Jethro sweater, which is crocheted granny squares, and you make the front and the back, and then you knit the arms. You pick up and knit the arms. And full confession, I did some of them, and then I coerced Maureen, our crochet teacher, to do the great majority. I bartered with her, so we made a trade on something. So she did a lot of them. But now I have 36 squares, and I'm washing and blocking every one. So I do 6 a day, and I have to, I'm measuring very carefully that they measure the same thing. It's a tiny bit tedious, but I'm looking forward to that being finished. And Iva from Vancouver, a very wonderful city, and has a nice yarn shop that I went to there. the name of which I forget. I'm sorry. Anyway, it was very cool. How to block plant fibers. Pretty much the same way you block wool, but I'd be careful because they do stretch a bit more. Silk in particular will really stretch. Cotton will stretch. Linen, not so much. It'll stretch lengthwise mostly. And linen or hemp, those don't stretch as much. Bamboo can stretch. What other plant fibers do we use? Well, I said silk, cotton, and linen, those are the major ones. So I would be careful with plant fibers, but you do it the same way you would wool, frankly. Robin has been working on her Leith cardigan. And what she found, and we talked about this before in these gorgeous colors, and she had on her purl sides had rowing out, which means that your purl stitches are looser or tighter. Generally, in most cases, they're more loose on the purl side. So, and it didn't look like that was going to get resolved with blocking. So what she did was she's doing a smaller needle on the purl side. So she did a size 7 for knitting and a size 6 for purling. Now you have to really pay attention and remember to change your needle, because then if you don't,
well,
it's a problem.
Because at the end of every row, you've got one needle there,
right.
And you just switch needles.
Yeah. So you just have to remember at the end of every row, right side row, you're going to switch needles. Well, both rows, because you got to switch back. And one way that some people do this is with interchangeable needles. They'll have a size 7 on one end and a 6 on the other end, which you could do if you're, paying attention. But if you start out with the right needle, you should be fine, and you could definitely do it that way. But so she did do that, and the rowing out stopped, and she has nice even stitches.
For the most part.
Well, none of us is perfect. I mean, good grief. And I need to teach you the carrying your yarn behind.
Thank you, that would be great. How about right now?
I can teach you that right now. So this is a trick that I've been doing for a long time, and I noticed Stephen West does this. But rather than weaving in when you have a ton of ends to weave in, which can be annoying, there is a method that I use to, if I'm adding new yarn, or switching yarns, I start with my new yarn, and it's best to do this on a knit row if you can. And then I take the tail of the old yarn and loop it over, and then go back to the new yarn, and then I knit one stitch. So I knit one where I looped the yarn over, and now I'm going to take the old yarn from the right to the left, new yarn from left to right, and old yarn back over. Oops.
How about that?
And then you knit the next stitch. You can't do this every stitch because the yarn can just pull right out. And so it's from the right to the left, left to right, and then over, back over, and then knit again. So I'll show this again.
So here we are attaching the
Okay, so I'm
new
doing
yarn.
this again. New yarn comes on, I knit that, and then take the old yarn and come over from the right to the left, and the new yarn from left to right, and old yarn from left to right. And can you see how it's catching that? So you have to do it every other stitch, not every stitch. So right to left, left to right, right to left. And you can see along the back how it's being woven in as you go.
Awesome.
And I find, if I remember to do it, it makes my life a whole lot easier. But you have to remember to do a lot. Don't do just a few, because, and another thing that we talked about, I was talking about this with my students yesterday in my class, you can get something that's called fray check. And so I would have done, if I were doing this, I would have done probably from here to there, that many. And then if you wash it, if you saw a few things come out, you could simply weave them back in. So the story about the baby blanket, and I hope she doesn't mind me telling this, but I think it will save a lot of people a lot of heartache. I think she changed yarns in the middle of the row. You can choose to do that or not do that. In this case, it wouldn't have mattered because the same thing could have happened at the end of the row. But she put the blanket in a, and we have them here, one of those garment bags for washing, and it had a zipper on it. And I do know this from the past, just to make sure you use a safety pin into the zipper, into the bag, so that it will not come open. Somehow hers came open in the wash, and some of the blanket unraveled. And the problem with that is that it was in the middle of the blanket, and so you have very little yarn left because you've woven in whatever, you've cut it. And if she had woven in a lot of stitches, she might have had enough yarn to have repaired it easily. As it turns out, she gave it to our magical person, Agnes, who took it home and saved it for her. But she was heartsick, and I don't blame her after all of that work. And it was a special blanket for a special baby. And so, yeah, they're all special. They are. But one thing that also can save you, and I don't think I have, yes I do, oh my goodness, I forgot. There is a product called Fray Check, and we used to sell it here, but I haven't in a while. And I think it's basically something like epoxy. It's glue. And what you can do on a knitted piece that you're worried about it, particularly a slippery yarn like cotton, silk, those things, they can come undone quickly, so easily. So what you can do is lift your tail up, the little tail, and you can put a dab of fray check here, and then put the tail down on top of it and hold it there for 30 seconds or something, and then let it dry and then snip it off. And that glue will keep it from coming undone. Now you want to do that very carefully because you don't want a big old glob of glue on, so I would test it on a piece of paper to see how much comes out of
Plus it can be a little
this.
scratchy on your skin. So
Yeah, you only want a dab. So you can get this at Joann's for not much money. Michael's, yeah, whatever,
Online,
any of those
Amazon.
places online.
Yeah.
And it's by Dritz is the company, and it's called Fray Check. So it's a handy little thing to have in your repertoire of things. I wanted to talk about what I'm wearing. This is the Luminos tee, and it's made with fingering weight. And I have to say, it's very warm out, and of course I'm in air conditioning, but I'm quite comfortable in it, and it's really a fun little t-shirt. And I like these fingering weight wools in the summer a lot. They're soft. So that's Luminos.
What is it?
And
It's just the yarn.
this is Algeria, is the main color, and the variegated is Cowgirl Blues, a hand dye from South Africa. The other great little thing that we have is this sort of capelet shawl, and now I'm blanking on the name of it because I left the pattern over there somewhere. It's a drops design, and this is a great little item for the summer, for just, if you need something to take the chill off a little bit. And this is made, this is called
Let's Fall in Love.
Let's Fall in Love. And you could do this with any number of things. I was looking for something to make in this cotton, but they do it in a brushed alpaca silk, which I'm going to show you some cashmere silk that you will just love. But so you could do it in something finer. You could do it in mohair, the alpaca. But I quite like this, and it's a fun thing to wear in the summer. So you can, you can wear it all different ways. You can wear it like this. You can wear it down over your shoulders, and it's a quick, easy knit. So that is, and this is the Sami XL, but it calls for, does it have an actual gauge? It's interesting. It does come in small, medium, large XL, XLL, XXL, and XXXL. So there are lots of options for you. And it's on a large needle, a size 10, and I just don't think they give a gauge. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, so it's a drops pattern, and they're free, I'm pretty sure. So this is an easy, quick knit, something that would be a lovely gift. So a lot of fun. And we got a new yarn. Oh, before I forget, Robin found a great way to calculate if you are having trouble getting gauge and want to change the size.
Well, because on
correct?
the Leith cardigan, we both used a worsted
Right.
yarn.
Right. So if you have something that you're dying to use and it isn't quite the right gauge, there's a calculator for this. And I know a way to do it that it's hard to explain on
Over
here.
my head,
It
so
goes, but it has to do with measuring, knowing the number of stitches you're casting on, and finding the measurement that's around the bust,
That's
or the number of
exactly what
stitches.
this
So
does.
this is what this does, and it's called Knitter's Kitchen. It's on, you can find it on the web, and it's called Knitting Math, Recalculating Your Size. So it has, the golden rule of stitch gauge, she says. More stitches on 10 centimeter is a tighter gauge. So everything's measured on 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So a tighter gauge gives you a smaller swatch. And it's often, worked on needles that are, so if that happens to you, you're on too small a needle. Less stitches, which is a looser gauge, makes the item bigger, and that means you're on too big a needle, so you can change. Anyway, I recommend this if you want to look. There's a calculator in this, and if you're looking to change or try to figure something out to fit a yarn that you have or a gauge that you're getting, you can use this formula. Some new yarn that we got in yesterday. I've been anxiously awaiting this, and this is called Cashmere, and this is brushed silky cashmere. So it's 23% silk and 77% cashmere. I just want to show you, they sent us a sample, and this in the drops pattern, this would be just delightful. But what made me want to buy this, the young woman who was the rep at the yarn show I went to was wearing a sweater in this, in kind of this pattern, and it was just beautiful with little cami underneath, but a shawl or just about anything. And I have to tell you, this was on a US 10, and no itch. There is no itch on this cashmere.
No halo either. So
No
if you're looking for
halo.
that mohair
It's
fuzz, it's not gonna have that.
it's beautiful, and it is 328 yards, and I think, now mind you, this is cashmere and silk, I think it retails at about $27. It's pretty shocking. So these colors,
And that's really a great price.
that's an amazing price. And one of these will make you a beautiful shawl. Or you could, a couple of them will make a really pretty top. We don't have names for them, so I might give them names right now. They just have numbers. So this is the light blue. This is a darker blue. Denim blue. And they're a plied yarn, so it's kind of, if people remember, we had, a number of years ago, a woman who made recycled cashmere, and she took apart cashmere sweaters and spun them, and so they were, and re-spun them and sold them, so they were kind of marled like this. So I saw this and that made me think of it, and I thought, well, we should get this. This one is a brownish gray. It's kind of a taupey color. I really like this one. This is color number 23608. I'll have to give them names. This is more of a gray and white. And this one is a hot, shocking pink, which is really pretty, and then a paler pink. And you could put, some of these go together pretty nicely. So if you look. So anyway, they're not received yet into our system, but they will be over the weekend probably. That will happen, or I'll try to get to it today, and then they'll end up being online. So our Rebecca Clow KAL is still going strong. People are coming in on Fridays. I've finished one, the Tulsta Tea, which I showed you last week, and I'm working on my Leith. I just have the sleeves and the band to do, so hopefully I'll make some progress on that tomorrow when I have the day off. The word has it that Andrea Mowry has designed yet another Rhinebeck sweater. And I know this because Giovanna was one of the test knitters, and she was very good. She did not share the pattern with anybody, so that was a good thing. She did tell me that it was worsted weights, and I think that that Spin Cycle already announced that as well, because they announced that Dream State was one of the yarns used in it. So we have a lot of Dream State in stock, so I got some solids, because word has it that you need some solids to go with it without giving anything away. But we love Rios, and so I ordered, and the solids I think go really, really well. This one sells really quickly. This is called Uruguay, and people love this. It's kind of a periwinkle blue, I think. This one, and if you're putting this with a variegated yarn, another color, you kind of want a more subtle background. You don't want a screaming sort of background if you're using colors. So this is called Rio de Plata, and I would call it a dusky teal, probably. Here's a gray called Lobo Merino. I think they've done a nice job with these solids. I really like them. And they're, of course, this is Dunas. This is kind of a musky mustard beige. This is another one that we were trying to figure out what this is. It's called Mate. Maybe it's a khaki army olive, drab army olive, but would be really pretty with a bright color. This one, I love this one. This is ivory. And these are so soft and just a delight to knit with. This is called Chaya. Again, mustard. And one here that is, this is like really bad on my part, getting two that are so similar. However, this is called Frank Ochre, which I've loved this since they put this out. And this one is called Dulce de Leche, which is also very pretty. And then, of course, we have black. And we have lots of other worsted yarns, and this is called Purple Mystery. We have others. I've been knitting the Sabai tank. My mind is going fast. Tank, and I'm doing it in black, and everybody said to me yesterday, aren't you hating it? I am not. If you knit with good light, it's not a problem. Now, I think if you're on black on a size 2 needle, you've got a problem.
In the winter when you sit inside.
Yeah. But I'm knitting this even at night, but I'm on a size 7 needle, I think, and I'm not having any problem seeing the stitches at all. But make sure you have good lighting. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about knitting at the beach. I love to knit at the beach. If it's not like blazing hot, but if you're sitting there, and I like to sit at the beach under an umbrella in a chair, and I bring my yarn in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, and I have a towel, and I'll put the towel over my legs, and there I'll knit, and I'll make sure that my hands are not oily from suntan lotion. And what I've discovered, having just been on a vacation where it was sunny and hot, I've discovered spray suntan lotion, and you don't even have to rub it in. So I had like people sprayed my back for me and the back of my arms, number 50, and I was golden. Didn't get sunburn, and I sprayed. I think I missed a couple of little spots here, but I didn't rub any of it in. I just sprayed it on myself, and that worked. So I didn't have icky hands. And so I like to knit, or by a pool is another place to knit. So you can enjoy, and take a book on tape, and you can sit and listen to a book and knit under an umbrella. Don't sit out in the sun and get sunburned. So, or if you're going on an airplane, flying somewhere, great. Find a small project to take with you, socks, mittens. You don't want to haul around a big sweater, but I did that recently on my trip because I'm a little crazy. But some people say I want to just take an easy project so I can just relax. I love a complicated project. So I don't love flying. I mean, I'm okay with it. It's not a big deal. But it sure makes the time go by if you're doing some fancy lace project that you really have to concentrate on and do it slowly. It's a great time to do it because it blocks out all the noise and everything else. So I recommend that. That said, when you see this, the 4th of July will be over. We're podcasting the day before the 4th. I hope that everybody has a great time with friends and relatives and watching fireworks. And if you have tomorrow off, or the 4th of July off, carve out a little time for yourself to do some knitting. Or crocheting. I shouldn't. Oh, and I meant to say, I didn't say this about my Jethro sweater. Okay. I said the mind is going little by little, or maybe it's a little fast. Anyway.
It's a new drug for Alzheimer's.
Oh, I heard this. I heard that. That's new Alzheimer's drug. Anyway, enjoy, and I'll see you next week. Bye.